Call the meeting of the WISD Board of Trustees to order. And please let the record show that this meeting has been duly called and notice this meeting has been duly posted for time and manner required by law. At this time, we have 6 trustees in attendance. Mr. Rogers will be joining us shortly after 5 o'clock. At this time, the board will go into closed session according to section 551.001 et sec of the Texas Government Code. It is now 5 p.m. Back into open session. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Avenshaw to lead us in our invocation, followed by Ms. Kriegel with our pledges.
Everyone please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for giving us the opportunity to come together this evening. And Lord, just bless us and guide us and use us for your purpose, Lord, to make good decisions to help your children as we get through this remainder of this year, Lord, and just guide our decisions so that we may do your will, fulfill your will, and that everyone
Next item on our agenda is the portion of the board meeting where the board receives input from our patrons. Each person who addresses the board will have 5 minutes to speak on his or her issue. Because of the posting requirements of the Open Meetings Act, board members will not ask questions of the patron nor answer any questions posed by the patron. No action can be taken on any issue presented during the patron comment section of the board meeting. Patrons addressing the board will be notified when they are approaching the last 60 seconds of their allotted time. At this time, I would ask Mr. Scott Goodwin to step forward. Please state your name and address for the record, please. I will be the official keeper of time, and I will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you.
Proceed when you're ready.
My name's Scott Goodwin. I reside at 140 Brookbend Drive here in Waxahachie. We've lived here about a year, and we have our granddaughter in Coleman Middle School. And I sent you all a brief on my discussion, and I'm sure all of you have read it in great detail and done a lot of other further research. But I do want to say again, thank you. I've raised 4 daughters before Corinne, and in doing that, we've been in 2A schools, private schools, 5A schools, and pretty much with 4 daughters, I've experienced almost everything. So I think you all are doing a great job. I'm very impressed with the school and everything that's going on, so congratulations. I am specifically asking you all to consider getting rid of the face mask mandate. That's not to say that people can't wear face masks, that's up to them. I think I've given you some good reasons, some sound reasons. I'd be glad to provide more. I could probably give you 100 pages of why face masks do not work, and they're really, in my opinion and the opinion of a lot of professionals, detrimental to the kids. In raising 4 daughters previously, I've faced, like I say, almost everything. The biggest thing that I have continued to face this year has been the trauma of the face mask. The emotional parts of it, the separation from her friends, all sorts of things. And that's not just her point of view, it's also a lot of the friends that come over to the house and stuff. So I ask you to get rid of the mandate. The reality is that if you decide not to get rid of the mandate, I'd like to have a copy of the licensed physician paid by the Waxahachie School District's opinion as to what the standards of the face mask must be to be effective. And I'd like to have that. I also would like to remind everyone that unfortunately, the federal recommendation by the CDC and the National Health Institute are contrary to federal law. The federal law under the ADA and the HIPAA law actually are in opposition to the mandate. So I'd appreciate you all looking into that. If I could provide more information about that, if you need more information about that, I'll be glad to provide that. And so I just dearly pray that you guys use your common sense, and let's not have face masks as a mandated issue next year. And again, if we do, then I think that it's because all the face masks, I mean, I see kids wearing, bandanas and all sorts of stuff that aren't even, there's just no criteria. Oh, you got to have your mouth and nose covered, but there's no criteria. So if there is going to be criteria as established by a licensed physician, preferably respiratory, then I think that to make sure that no matter what the income level of any of the students, I think it becomes incumbent on the school district to provide those face masks at that standard so that all the kids have the same level of standard face mask, and so that they are not looking at each other wondering who has what. And so that would be a final recommendation if you decide to go forward with the face mask next year. Unfortunately, my wife and several of our granddaughter's friends' parents are now discussing the option of homeschooling, which I'm against, not because it's not good, but I think the community of a school, of a public school,
You have 1 minute.
I think the community of a public school is very important to how kids grow up and then interface in life. So again, I thank you for listening. I ask you to consider that seriously.
Sir, there is no one who hopes more than you that we do not have to wear masks next year. Trust me, you're looking at a room full of people, the teachers, the kids. We just, I don't want to say have our fingers crossed, because we just hope against hope that we are going to be able to do that.
The thing is, we don't have to, because they don't do anything in reducing the transmission. So we don't have to wear them. Thank you.
Okay, Reverend Myron Goins. Mr. Goins, will you please state your name and address for the record, please? I will let you know when you have 1 minute left remaining.
All right, my name is Reverend Myron Goins. I live at 225 Old Settlers Trail in Waxahachie, Texas. I've been a member of this community for 3 years. I'm an activist, well, social activist, pastor, preacher, educator, combat veteran, all that other great stuff. I come this evening to address not only this board about the equity training, insensitivity, that there's a culture within our district. I think a couple years ago, I addressed it with our superintendent and assistant superintendent about a teacher that was at the high school. But I believe that's just not just a one-time incident. I currently am a campus sub at Howard Middle School, and what I have not only seen being at that particular school, but also I've had to go and substitute at our other schools, middle schools per se. And there's a culture in our school about insensitivity that because people just don't know, right? You know, you can call a white boy a boy and he goes on about his business. But if you call a black man or a black young boy, then there's a connotation to it. There is a racial tone that goes with it. But because we don't know and because we are not teaching our first line individuals such as our teachers. You know, I asked the question about equity racial training. I'm an equity racial trainer myself. Anytime I go and teach a class, I have the other voice in the class with me. So me being an African-American man, I also have someone who is of European descent. And so what I'm saying is that I've heard teachers say things that are inappropriate to our kids that are black and brown. You know, and I understand that all the administrators have had equity training to some point, but yet it needs to be in the schools. The teachers need to understand that there are certain things that you just can't say to black and brown kids. Secondly, I'd like to address that what I see is that me being a black man, a black educator, I walked in one of our middle schools and it hurt me to my heart because when I came out of the class to greet the kids and the two young ladies say, well, oh, a black man. I mean, so what she said to me was powerful. Now, you may not say, well, I mean, what does that mean? Well, that means that she saw someone that represented her. But if I look around this room, and I look as an educator, I look in our district, I look in our schools, I look at our administrators, I see nobody that looks like me. And so how do I know that this board, the administrators, have my best interests? I can go even further. So at the school that I do substitute at, there's a book that's called Rolling Thunder, Hear My Cry. Well, some of those, that book is, you know, if you don't know anything about it, pick up a copy, you know, but it has the word nigger in it about 5-6 times. Well, one thing that our kids today learn everything about what they see and what they hear on Facebook. They think what's on Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat is real. Well, if I am a teacher, an educator, and saying that in the class with kids that are majority white, then that lets me know that that's okay to say outside of that classroom. But yet we don't think about the black kids the 3 or 4 black kids that's in that room who feel oppressed because they can't say nothing because they're the minority. What I say to this board is that we need to implement some type of diversity training, not just at the administrative level, but at the school level, from elementary all the way up to high school. It is very needed, and like I say, I will continue to come back until this action is taken and we move upon it. Because enough is enough. We know it's the big elephant in the room. Let's have that discussion and let's move on so that we can help not only our kids become better communicators with one another. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Andrew White? State your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir.
I will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining.
Okay, thank you. Andrew White, 1109 Panorama Loop, Waxahachie, Texas. Good evening, board president, and Dr. Kane and administrative team. First, I want to say to the board members and the administration team, thank you for all you've done this year to keep our staff and students as safe as possible. It's been a hell of a year, but thank you all for everything you've done. Years ago, a 9th grade student told me she was having a great year despite being in 4 foster homes that year. She said, "But this one is good, Mr. White. They like me." I sat there for a moment and thought about my 2 girls, how lucky I am to have them in my life. Many people don't understand the burdens that teachers and administrators carry. The burdens can cause it to be a lonely profession, much like those of probably first responders. But there is a burden much heavier, and that is one waking up each and every day wanting the best for your child and wanting them to be happy. So when my 15-year-old is upset that her school is on the verge of being moved once again and the culture forever changed, I am obligated to ask questions and look out for her best interests. I was told last week at a community forum by a member of the community that your daughter is only one child. Well, that's right, she's my child. But there are 400 more young people like her at Global. I know I'm in the minority by saying Global should be left alone. But why are we doing away with the state and nationally ranked school? I would hope that any parent would fight for their child's academic future. My daughter loves Global High. She loves it for what it represents. A standalone campus where students can go and solely focus on their academics with no other distractions. A place where students can be accepted for who they are. Her freshman year, she called me after school and said, "Dad, can I stay after?" I said, "Why?" She said, "Guys are playing chess." I said, "Yeah, right, they're playing chess." She said, "No, for real, that's what they do at Global." I asked the board members to consider the following question. Why didn't you see survey results where Global administrators, staff members, teachers, parents, and students were asked how they felt about their school being moved once again? Well, no survey was conducted. That's why you didn't see results. I've heard many people say in this community that we love Global. It's not going to change. I don't doubt that they love the school, but they're wrong. It's going to change. I've worked with early college schools, and the culture is different. It's not the same when 2 principals are trying to run a building. There is a natural but unfortunate distinction in the student population. A natural segregation occurs which leads to other challenges for students, parents, teachers, and administrators. Eventually, something has to give, and usually it's the academics. Students feel bullied or singled out, and they want to blend in naturally, so they give up a little bit to gain a sense of security. And if you don't believe me, do research. And to date, the district, to my knowledge, hasn't provided a clear documented plan of how they're going to roll out the school within a school model. I have been to many forums and haven't heard anybody that works for the district cite any research on why we're doing this school within a school model. My friends also say, vote yes and ask questions later. Well, I've never voted like that. I've always asked questions. Global students will be okay, they say, but I wonder if they would take their own advice if it was their child being affected by the decision. Voting yes is forcing me to say no to 400 families. It's sending a message to those teachers and administrators at Global that have poured more than a decade of their lives into building a model campus that what they've done doesn't matter anymore. At least that's how I interpret this. And if this is the path the district is going to take, is Wildman next? It is a standalone STEAM school, after all. But for now, I will continue dropping off my daughter at her school, a school that she loves. I will continue watching the Global students walk into that building every morning, knowing that they belong, that is their home. at least for the next 2 years. You see, it's hard to understand the wolf mentality when you've never been a wolf. In all my years of education, I've learned you better well know why you're doing what you're doing.
1 minute.
And you never take a proven model and experiment with it unless you have a solid, proven model ready to take its place. And I haven't seen that solid model yet at any community forum. Let there be no doubt, Waxahachie ISD is an incredible district. We have fabulous people that live here and work here. I've been here since '98. I know what I'm talking about. But with growth that we all know is happening comes healthy conflict. There are way too many burdens for any of us to carry alone. As a district, we have to look at how we do things and ask ourselves, what can we do to become better every year? What can we do to make us different from Plano, Mansfield, Midlothian, Frisco? And that is a big ask, but it's one that must be asked.
10 seconds.
Yes, sir. Well, friends, all I have to ask is, are we asking the right questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White. Mike Morgan? Please state your name and address for the record, please. I will let you know. I will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining.
My name's Mike Morgan, live at 118 Vintage, Waxahachie, Texas. I come here tonight basically to support the bond. I've talked to a lot of people in this community. I'm born and raised here. My wife and I both attended school in Waxahachie. All 4 of our sons graduated here. I don't know anything else but Waxahachie. The only time I haven't lived here is when I was gone to college. So I've seen a lot of good things in this district, and unfortunately I've gotten to see some bad things too, because I worked for the district for 35 years and my wife worked for the district for 33. So we've seen a little bit of all of it as well. One of the things I want to commend the board on and the administration that I see in this bond is we are trying to utilize every seat we have before we start spending more money. I want to commend you for that. I know it has caused some tough decisions by changing some schools around, opening Coleman back up as another high school. That brings in the controversy of one high school versus multiple, and that's tough in this town. It's hard for me. I'm still one of those guys, if you cut me, I'm going to bleed green. I can't help it. I love this town. But at the same time, I'm an educator, and I have to sit back and say which is more important, to have the community over here supporting one school or to have multiple schools that give a lot of students opportunities to be involved. As an educator, I have to go with the latter. I think the more we can get students involved, the more successful they're going to be in school. It's a trade-off. There's pros and cons to both ways of it, but I like the direction that we're going. Some people say that high school's old. It's not fair. It is old. I remember when it was built and opened in 1972. Why did we build that school way out there in the country? Look where it's at now. Can it be fixed? Yes. I think the bond has $25 million put in to redo that high school, to get it prepared to open as a 4A high school. I think it could be a great school. I taught in that building for 29 years. I know what's in there. I know the CTE part of it. Most of those shops are still there and intact. Do they need dressing up? Yes. Are there some other things that need to be improved? Certainly. But I think we can do it with that amount of money. I know they're tough decisions you guys are having to make. I appreciate the fact that you've looked into it. I do encourage, as we move forward through this in years to come, we get as much input from the community as possible. I realize this year, with this pandemic raising its head, it created some issues there. We couldn't meet. We couldn't do some of those things. But I encourage you in the future, let's please try to get our community as involved as possible. I think if we do that, I really don't see that this bond would be very different. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda, our Human Resources Report. Mrs. James?
Good evening, Board. I would like to ask that you approve the personnel report as presented by the superintendent in closed session, and also ask that the Board approve the stipend schedule for the 2021 school year. 2021-2022 school year.
Professional contracts?
So moved.
Oh, I had a question. I'm sorry, Ms. James. Professional contracts as well?
And professional contracts, yes,
Okay,
sir.
all right. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion for items under A, B, C, under Human Resources as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kriegel. Second by Mr. Schofield. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much, Ms. James.
Thank you.
Okay, next item will be our recognitions. Ms. Bridges, I believe we have a room full of folks tonight.
We have a room full and a hallway full of people tonight. I know. When I went out there to talk to him, I said, I feel really small. I would like to invite Greg Reed to come up and do our first two recognitions. There may not be any room in this room once these guys get in here, but if y'all want to come up to the front, and you can face the audience.
I don't think anybody realizes the size of these guys, so you get them in a room together. When different kind of hardwood court here. But it's an honor to be able to represent and introduce you guys tonight to the 2020-2021 men's basketball team. These gentlemen had an amazing season. They were 20-3 overall. They were the 11 6A outright district champions. They were by-district champions. They were area champions. They were regional quarterfinal champions, regional semifinal champions, and regional final runner-ups. Through most of the season, they remained second in the state in the Max Preps poll. And to top that off, they were recognized through most of the season as the 14th ranked team in the nation. I'll go ahead and introduce them all next. So if you guys just step forward when we call your name, kind of separate yourself, give a wave. We're hiding everybody behind, but I think we can see everybody okay. All right. DJ Pigford. Jordan Davis. Demarion Collier. Mazarian Roberson. Jalen Lake. Prince Banks. Matthew Green. Cameron Drummer. Preston Hodge. Christian O'Donnell. CJ Nolan. Montez Young. Jacob Watson. Darkwan King. Jamarcus Head. And then our coaches to their left, you have our head basketball coach, Greg Gilbert. Behind him is Coach Anthony Dees. To his right is Quentin Cannon. And we are missing Cody Heil, who's not here with us tonight, and Colton Gober, who is a little bit under the weather. So we are missing a few coaches. But this is your 2020-2021 regional finalist team. So congratulations. Whether you saw them live or you saw them on the stream, I think we all know how skilled and how hard they played the game. But I think more than anything that stands out to me on my side of how I view it is these young men are gentlemen. And They fight their rears off on the court, but at the end of the day, these are young men that we're extremely proud of. They handle themselves with class everywhere they go. From picking up their bench with cups, I see that kind of stuff. But you guys, you're smiling at me because that's what you do. That's what you've been trained to do, and that's what you guys do to represent our district with class, and we appreciate all that you do. We can take some pictures? Okay.
No, I don't know if my phone's wide enough for this, so we're gonna have to act like we like each other. Can they take your mask off?
Yeah.
Yes, y'all can take your mask off for the picture. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. All right, everybody ready? Look over here. Fantastic. Congratulations, guys.
Short guy.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Yeah. I'm shaking hands today. Yes, sir. Okay. Coach Riley, would you come up? You want to bring your family with you? It's up to you. Yeah, here we come.
Bring him up. He came all the way.
That little ballerina doesn't have any stage time.
All right, so it is my pleasure again to introduce you guys to Seth Riley, our men's soccer coach. Coach Riley received a milestone this year as he collected his 100th win for Waxahachie ISD and his career as well. Coach Riley came here as the head coach in 2015. He's quickly made men's soccer relevant and elite in this district. They worked through a very tough region, but when they earn something, it's no secret to anybody that's around him. He's well respected by his peers, not only just in Waxahachie and other coaches, but throughout the area. The boys finished with a season record of 14-10-1 overall. They were the 4th seed coming out of our district, and they knocked off the number 1 seed, Belton, at Waco Midway, in a big game over there, who was the number 1 seed from their district. They went on to the next week to play Rockwall Heath. They bowed out in that game, but this did mark the first time in school history that they both played in a 6A game and won a 6A playoff game. So he ended the season also with 4 first-team All-District players. He had 3 second-team All-District players and 3 honorable mentions. And if you know Coach Riley, you know he deflects all of this to his players, to his coaches. Doesn't ever want to take the credit for it. But tonight, Coach Riley, we congratulate you on your milestone of 100 wins. Jason Venable, come up, please. All right, so tonight we're going to celebrate another milestone for Jason Venable, who is the head coach of our women's soccer team. Coach Venable is in his 18th year with Waxahachie ISD and as the Lady Indians head soccer coach. On March 16th, he recorded his 500th career victory by beating DeSoto in front of the home crowd at Lumpkin Stadium. He also made history this year with the Lady Indian soccer teams. They won their first 2 playoff games since becoming 6A at the 6A level. At this point, Coach Venable has 502 wins because they went on to win 2 postseason games, as I said, before finally losing to Mansfield in the regional quarterfinal game, which was played on Good Friday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day. It was very warm. So overall, for the year, the girls finished with a record of 19-4-3 in an extremely competitive soccer district that had 3 teams make it out of our district who all either played in the semi-quarterfinal game or further. So one played another week after us, and then one more played another week after that. So in the end, he finished with 6 first-team all-district girls, 3 second team, 3 honorable mentions, and 15 academic all-district. Coach Venable, very similar to many of our coaches, he will be one that will never want to take the credit to. If you read any of the articles that were written about him from different media people, he's always talking about the coaches. He talks about how much the kids deserve it, and as much as any program we have, his ex-players come back to the game. His ex-players come back and get to experience again and talk to his current players now about how special this program is. So tonight we congratulate you, Jason Venable, on 500 career victories. All right, and can I do this one last thing? I'm going to go off script just real quick. I've received something a couple of months ago. The University Interscholastic League this past year, we celebrated 100 years not only of football, but basketball. And in that, they recognized many different teams, many different schools, many different coaches for a lot of different things. And one of the things that Waxahachie ISD received was we were named to the UIL's 100 greatest football teams as selected by a statewide panel of experts and is hereby presented by this award by HEB and the University Interscholastic League. So I've been meaning to send this over. I had not done it, so I'm just going to take the opportunity tonight to congratulate Waxahachie High School, all those that have come before us, all those that are with us this year, and the many more future Indians that are coming. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask Christy Cuban, who is the principal of Marvin Elementary, to come up.
Well, that's going to be a hard act to follow, but we're going to save the best for last. Good evening, Dr. Kane, President Autry, and members of the board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to recognize an outstanding Marvin Elementary teacher. Tonight, I would like to recognize Mrs. Lindsay Green as our Mighty Marvin Warrior. Our campus creed states, "I work hard to better myself and others." This statement truly describes Mrs. Green's work ethic. She models professionalism in teaching practices by transforming her room to create an engaging, supportive, and positive learning environment for her students. She affords her students real-world experiences to deepen their learning, and she tutors students after school. She's not afraid to take risks and new challenges and thinks outside the box for strategies to help her students be successful. Lindsay serves as the campus guide leader for new teachers. She leads professional development training on campus and offers help and suggestions to staff members in need. All this, and she still has time to work on completing another professional certificate degree. Please join me in thanking Mrs. Lindsay Green for being our Mighty Marvin Warrior.
Next, I'd like to invite Sonia Clark, Director of Little Chiefs Academy, to come up.
Good evening.
I'm here today to recognize an outstanding employee of Little Chiefs, Robin Parton. Robin has been part of the Little Chiefs family for 11 years. During these years, Robin has been an essential part of our success. She is dependable, reliable, and responsible. She wears many hats, from assisting me in the office to being in the classroom to cooking and buying the groceries. Although these things are impressive alone, what makes her outstanding is her positive attitude, and she always has a smile. No matter what I ask, she is willing to do it. She is always professional, positive, and committed, and I am so proud to have her as an employee and part of my team.
And board, the marching band was listed in your board book. They are actually going to come next month instead, but Lieutenant Oliver wants to do a very, very quick recognition, and then we will be done.
Eric Kyle had been working for 10 years as a juvenile probation officer for Ellis County before he began working with Waxahachie ISD under the supervision of Jason Chapman back in 2006. For 15 years, Kyle has served the school district, and 10 of those years was as coordinator of safety and security. Tonight, we honor Eric Kyle for that service. He is presented this evening with the awards he has earned throughout his tenure here at the school district. As training officer, longevity and recognition for his over 15 years of service, his bachelor degree, meritorious conduct for service delivered that clearly contributed to a high degree of success in difficult situations such as natural disasters and large events such as graduation and homecoming parades. He's being commended for outstanding performance in emergency management and for performing his duties and for outstanding contributions for the success of difficult work projects, programs, and situations which were successful due to his high degree of professionalism. Eric Kyle has served our district honorably and faithfully, and we wish him all the best as he transitions into his new position as a police officer with the Red Oak ISD Police Department.
Thank you, board.
Okay, next item on our agenda will be the report of Board of Trustees Continuing Education Training Hours. You have to bear with me. I've got about 4 pages that I'm legally obligated to read, so if you go to sleep, I don't blame you. Under State Board of Education rule, completing required continued education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As board president, I am required to announce the name of each member who has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. The requirements for training are measured as of the first anniversary of the date of the trustee's election or appointment, or 2-year anniversary of his or her previous training as applicable. There are 7 training areas for board members continuing education: local district orientation, orientation to the Texas Education Code, post-legislative update to the Education Code, team building, additional continuing education, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals, identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. To the extent applicable to each board member, I will announce the completion or deficiency as to required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled the training. At the conclusion of this announcement, I will announce any board member training in excess of the continuing education requirements. Local district orientation. No new board members were required to complete local district orientation for the time period covered by this announcement. Orientation to the Texas Education Code. No new board members were required to complete local district orientation for the time period covered by this announcement. Post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code. No board members were required to complete the post-legislative update to the Texas Education Code training for the time period covered by this announcement. Team building. The following board members have completed the annual team building training: Dusty Autry, Kim Kriegel, Judd McCutcheon, John Rogers, Clay Schofield, Melissa Starnader, Debbie Timmerman. Additional continuing education. The following board members have completed the additional continuing education requirements: Dusty Autry, Kim Kriegel, Judd McCutcheon, John Rogers, Clay Schofield, Melissa Starnader, Debbie Timmerman. Evaluating student academic performance and setting goals. Note, this training must be completed every 2 years. The following board members have completed the biennial training on evaluating student academic performance and setting goals: Dusty Autry, Kim Kriegel, Judd McCutcheon, John Rogers, Clay Schofield, Melissa Starnader, Debbie Timmerman. Identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children. Note, this training must be completed every 2 years. The following board members have completed the biennial training on identifying and reporting abuse and trafficking: Dusty Autry, Kim Kriegel, Judd McCutcheon, John Rogers, Clay Schofield, Melissa Starnader, Debbie Timmerman. Exceeding required continuing education. Board member Dusty Autry exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 0.75 additional hours for a total of 13.75 hours. Board member Kim Kriegel exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 35 additional hours for a total of 48 hours. Board member John Rogers exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 12.75 additional hours for a total of 25.75 hours. Board member Clay Schofield exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 0.75 additional hours for a total of 13.75 hours. Board member Melissa Starnader exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 19.75 additional hours for a total of 32.75 hours. Board member Debbie Timmerman exceeded the required amount of continuing education training by 27.75 additional hours for a total of 40.75 hours. And that will conclude the report of the continuing education training hours. Next item on our agenda would be our salary preparation, overview, and considerations.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Autry. This is that time of year that salaries, how much we're going to let departments have to spend. Should we increase departmental budgets? How we balance out the guess of, is the legislature going to be as generous as it sounds like they're supposed to be? Unfortunately, it usually is like at the last minute that we find out those things. And sometimes we have to make last minute decisions. I wrote this out for the board because we want to make certain that we are not getting mixed messages. Because I know many times we hear that the classes are too full, too large, and so we would like to make smaller classes. Well, that takes money out of something else. That departments hadn't had increases in budget for quite some time, that the campuses are underfunded, so there's a lot of competing things, and there is not one thing in this list that doesn't have merit and should be appreciated and considered whenever we look at the budget. But they also are competing. I would love to say we have the money, we're going to fund all this, and we are good to go. But I suspect we're going to have to make some hard choices, and we want to make the choices that the board, one of your jobs is to approve the budget, and two, you hear from a different group of people than we do. So I was just going to take this time, if we could come up with the board to prioritize, or maybe you didn't remember that there's a lot of these items that cost more than others that could be considered, because we don't want to waste your time by bringing you a budget that the board as a whole feels like not enough, not student-teacher ratios are too high, or all of these are worthy. So I was just wanting for the staff to get an idea of what your priorities are, what your preferences are. Now, if we don't have if we have plenty of money to spend, we're going to fund everything. But otherwise, the board has expressed that they wanted small schools, small campuses, small student-teacher ratio, and if this is the board's direction, that's what we want to do. So I just want to make certain that these things they're not in the order that I think the board put them in. They're just random order, so I'd like to know what the board prefers, because if the board says salaries are number one, make certain we get a certain percent salary, then the staff gets a certain percent salary, then we will kind of back that out. Or if we want that to maintain those low student-teacher ratios at the secondary level, we will know to put that as top priority funding. And so there's not a wrong answer, because everything on here is something that's important, but everything will not be able to be funded. So I was just trying to get that feedback from the board. And then we'll be on it.
Can you give us a deadline?
Well, I was going to are you going to make a formal recommendation at our next meeting in May?
Well,
Is that quick?
Well, again, you know how it seems like now that August 1's a long way away? It's not. And this could be something that is a longer range project, or it could be something that you say, okay, well, why don't you rank order these for us? Like one item, obviously, you can't fund this year. There's always been this, and it's a wonderful idea to have these smaller elementary campuses. And everyone loves those neighborhood campuses. And we have learned from Wedgeworth that 800, they can handle 800 and there's not a problem. So we might want to consider in a long-range plan that these 4 of the elementary schools, the smaller one, instead of building an elementary school, we add classrooms to make 700, 750 kids and add on to those campuses. Like Mr. Morgan said, there's a lot to be gained confidence from the community by saying not only is every campus full now, but we just made certain that we have maximized capacity. But so that wouldn't be something I would say, okay, do that now. That would be something that we would put on a future bond presentation if that's what we want to do. But I just wanted to add that because there's cost savings. Every time you have to hire a principal, an assistant principal, have another campus. And again, Wedgeworth has shown that they are rock stars. And that doesn't even feel like a big school for the way it's built. You walk in and it looks like it's really not that big. So it could be, however, the board's preference. In time, in how we do it, in schedule, in us making a suggestion, or what?
We get like where we are on the secondary cap 28.
Okay.
I know that last year when the teachers lost their, when they went to teaching 7 of 8, they were promised that the class sizes would be.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Don't
I'm
wait,
sorry.
baby, we got it.
Okay. Last year, when the teachers started teaching 7 of 8, the deal was that their class sizes were supposed to be reduced. So I would like to know, like, where we are with class sizes.
Okay. Why don't we give at the next meeting, we'll have a report at the high school, literally, let's just say both high schools.
Right.
And at the junior highs and say, and also I'd like to Also, I'd like to include some of the comments from principals about, because there's a difference in having an average of 28 and actually literally having a cap. I made a commitment that we wouldn't go over that, but we would have to, one, it's hard to hire a science teacher in November that you would want, although we've done that.
Yes, ma'am, I totally understand.
So, but yes, that's number one. We will get back with that report. See, we're off and running.
How about, just a suggestion? We have 2 meetings in May. The first one is superintendent evaluation, correct? Am I right? Mm-hmm. We do a workshop, just one item, and
Certainly.
and discuss this, and to just have 2 items on the agenda. Is everybody okay with that? I
Well,
mean,
when you look at May, though, I mean, because, okay, it's kind of a late, sometimes it sounds like our meeting comes early, so we will have election day, that'll be the bond election results. We can't have a meeting earlier than that for the bond election because we've got that waiting period.
yeah, that's to certify the election results.
Right, so the 10th is the board meeting, so would you like that meeting after after the regular meeting or before? I'm asking, you want on the 3rd, the 17th, or the 24th?
What day is the superintendent evaluation?
Well, that's
Third?
kind of, the board kind of floats that.
That was just a suggestion.
I agree. Probably worthy of a workshop.
Okay, do you think it should be, of course, we always kind of put them on Monday, so because y'all know not to plan anything on Monday if we have, so would it be better to be the 3rd, which is 2 days after the bond election, the 17th, which is the day before the last day of school, or the 24th, which is actually after graduation and everything? See, if you wait till the 24th, you're looking at the kids have, they've graduated, prom's over.
My suggestion would be the 3rd.
Okay, 3rd, going once, going twice,
Okay with that?
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
Okay, and we will, is there anything else? Thank you. I think that's a great idea. Anything else you'd like to bring, like Ms. Kriegel? That'd be something that we could do up front and.
Yeah, any
On building actually, Mr. Collin and I have talked about what it would cost to put the wings on, and we've already looked at the schools, so we've got that.
I would encourage any additional information you'd like to be provided on questions or whatnot, to get that to Dr. Kane so she can get it to the staff rather quickly so we can have it for that May 3rd.
One thing I'd like is, that report that Mr. Collin gave on the salaries. I like
TASD,
that, so we
yes.
can look at the custodians and those we talked about last year.
Okay, good. See, this really helps us in knowing what, and some of it we may send you ahead of time so that you don't get to the meeting. Some we may not get to until the meeting, but anything we can get ahead of time that's kind of self-explanatory, we will send and say in anticipation of the planning meeting. Okay, plan.
Does that give you guys enough time to May
Yes.
3rd?
It may be, yes, but I think this is maybe multiple meetings.
Okay.
I think it's a very painful thing to do when we have to, well, anytime, it's like with your family, when you have to put in a budget and decide what you're going to spend, are we going to have a vacation this year? Are we going to, add on to the house? What are we going to do? And it sounds like our budget is we really have a large, when you've got millions, but everything is so expensive. So, and we want to lay out our budget with the board's priorities. And I think over time, this would be a good time to do that, moving into this big growth area. Okay, the 3rd at 5 o'clock?
Sounds good to me.
Workshop, we'll be sending you stuff. Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
You had mentioned principal input. I guess I would just throw out there that, that's real important too. Getting the input from the principals and their staff, surveying, I don't know what we need to do, but just
Right.
as far as these
Yes.
priorities go.
We may wait till the 18th when school's out for the kids, because we're going to have the teachers 2 more weeks. I'd like to, if it's okay with you, to wait for that. I think there'd be more focus in thinking about, even though we're really doing good with the COVID numbers, it's kind of on everybody's mind, and they're trying to make up for this awful COVID year, so we will get that input from teachers. Actually, what we could do by waiting is that night, because I know you've got a long agenda and this is a regular board meeting, that night, questions that the board may think, boy, I hope they ask them this question, that you can say, is this on the list? And we can maybe get some questions that we may not be thinking of. Particularly if the teacher's been saying, why don't they ever ask us X? Well, this may be a good time to do it. It's a wonderful time with these 2 weeks. The teachers have their own days. They've got principal days. They've got Java-like days. Dr. Holt's got PD days. So it's a unique opportunity.
Anything else? Okay. Next item, principal residency grant.
I believe Mr. Calden is approaching the bench. Oh, by the way, well, never mind. Go ahead.
Evening, Board. I'm going to fully admit ahead of time that this is not exactly in my wheelhouse other than the grant part, so.
This is phone a friend?
I'm going to tag in a friend here in just a little bit. But did want to make you aware of a principal residency grant that we have been awarded with TEA. And with the expectation of growth in our district, roughly 7,000 additional students over the next 10 years, we know it's going to be important that we have campus leaders identified, and we would like to identify those from within and not have to constantly seek those from outside. So this grant will provide funding opportunities for us to have identify our own people and have them spend a year getting some on-the-job training. They can work on their principal certification, and they can actually be on campus experiencing the life of a campus administrator so that they're prepared for those next years when they get those assignments and they are ready to start leading their campus. We've now gotten above my waist, so I'm going to tag off to my friend because I don't know anything else about this.
So we put the application out to our staff. We had 13 teachers in the district that expressed interest in becoming a principal residency person. We did an initial screening on those 13. We selected 7 to interview. Those 7 were interviewed by a committee of district leaders, campus principals, and directors last week. That's been narrowed down to 3, and the final interviews will be this Friday. Our higher education partner is University of Texas at Tyler, and they will be here. They will have a representative there at the final interview this Friday to select up to 3 candidates. We can't select up to 3 for this opportunity. So we're pretty excited. It is a grow your own opportunity for us to build capacity in our district with, as Mr. Calden said, of district leadership. So we don't have to consistently look outside. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Questions from Mr. Calden, Dr. Averett? So when will it be announced?
We hope to be done on Friday with the selection.
Okay.
I would either think Friday or Monday at the latest. I would
Okay.
think. Those folks that were successful.
Did someone write this grant, or was it a team effort? How did it come
So Stacy Johnson is our grant writer for the district, and so she wrote the grant. So we had a committee of folks that participated in the interview. We had to do a live Zoom interview with the representatives from TEA. I actually got to participate in that. That was kind of fun. It's always kind of fun to talk about how we do stuff here, and it was really enjoyable to share how we evaluate folks, how we support folks in our district, and I believe TEA selected us because of the good things we have going on. So.
Great.
Any other questions? All right, thank you guys very much. Okay, move along. Item D, projected May schedule.
Yes, thank you, President Autry. This is basic. I just kind of alluded to this. A lot of people have asked after the students leave what we'll be doing with staff, and so we just kind of laid it out what the plan is for the staff, for you, for everybody. And unless there's any questions, this is for information only.
I have a quick question on graduation. Are we anticipating having a limited number of people per student at this point?
No. We talked about it, and I'm thinking, we were going to go over the schedule with the principals, actually the last 2 weeks, and the prom, and that's what we were talking about at Cabinet this morning, about prom and about, so Dr. Averitt?
So specifically, are we talking about capacity at this stage?
Yes.
So at this point, no, we do not have any plans to limit capacity at Lumpkins. We will have the stage set up at the north end zone like we have in the past, which will allow for both sides of the stadium to be used. Our stadium seats around 10,000, and so we feel like we'll have plenty of room. Global will have a different configuration of the stage, but again, with the size of their campus and the size of the home side, we believe we'll have plenty of room. We don't have to limit capacity. The question of masks, there's been a change in the separation of 6 feet to 3 feet as far as how close people can sit together. So we believe with 3 feet apart on the field with the students that'll be adequate. If students want to wear masks, of course they can. But we don't believe it's going to be necessarily required. We'll be outdoors.
And start time, 8 p.m.
Yes, and that would be the expectation for the fans, the parents who are there, is that we would encourage you to wear a mask, but it's not required.
Correct. Obviously that's going to be encouraged since we're not limiting capacity, but as far as enforcement of that will not be a priority.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions on the May schedule? Okay. Moving to consent agenda, we have items A through K. I have been asked to remove items H, I, and J for a small presentation by Mr. Calden. So with that in consideration, if there's no other items that anyone would like removed, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A through G and item K.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McCutcheon, second by Mr. Rogers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, so Mr. Calden, if you want to just do H, I, and J, and then if we have no objection, we'll take all three of those in one motion. Okay?
Absolutely. Items H, I, and J are forward-looking. If the bond were to be approved by the taxpayers at the 1st of May, we would like to go ahead and issue purchase orders for these items. Item H is for purchasing furniture for Northside and Dunaway. Those were items that were on their list from their campuses to use their $500,000 in the bond specifically for these. There is a error on item H. The $215 is just the Northside price. So it would be a PO not to exceed $460,000. Dunaway's is roughly the same, but it's a little bit more expensive, about $242,000. And that was pointed out to me today. I misread the quote when it was sent over. Item I is for flooring replacement over at Shackelford and also at Northside. Again, these were projects from their campus-based allocations if the bond were to be approved. We know that there is some asbestos in the flooring and the glue at Northside. So when you see $415,000, know that more than half of that is at Northside for the abatement and removal of that asbestos. But again, those were projects initiated by the campus with their allocation of funds. And then item J is to re-roof the support services hangar, the one that kind of looks like you might park a little airplane in, and then the old credit union, so the most recent home of the credit union, the field house that's right there by the hangar, before the credit union moved out to the backside of Coleman Junior High right now. The request is from the maintenance department with their about $5 million that they have allocated in the bond would be to go ahead and re-roof those projects. The hangar currently is used as a storage facility for support services, and then we are also looking at ways we can again reutilize the old credit union building once it has a good, solid, non-leaky roof on top of it. So the reason we're asking for approval today at this point, we've gotten our quotes, we've done all of the legwork on it, but we would like to issue those as soon as humanly possible, probably even before the May board meeting, so that we can get these projects going and hopefully have those furniture and the flooring delivered before the start of school for next school year.
What are our thoughts on the credit union? field house building?
Honestly, right now, in terms of what we would use for it, right now it's kind of the backup wait and see plan in case we have any issues anywhere, if we have enrollment growth beyond what we were expecting. Last ditch resort is we may look at having it as an instructional type area, but Jenny and I are trying to launch a print shop at this point. So if everything else works out just fine and we don't need it for another instructional purpose, we're looking at a district-run print shop in that space. But that's not going to be May 3rd's goal. That's going to be a little bit further down the line.
Any other questions for Mr. Calden? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items H, I, and J. Motion by Ms. Timmerman, second by Ms. Starnader. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you. And last item will be motion to adjourn, please. Motion by Mr. Schofield, second by Ms. Kriegel. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everyone.